Hello everyone, welcome back to A Wild Approach. My name is Macy Lou, and we are once again in the art studio because today I'm just going to have a little sit and chat with you guys. I'm just going to be talking about something that can be a controversial topic, and I hope that you stick around and hear me out on this one because I might upset a few of you, and that is not my intention. This is not me trying to hurt anyone's feelings. This is actually just me trying to spread awareness because I once didn't know this at one point either, and so it's not just other people, it's also me. I have also participated in this culture in the past, and I think that it's time for us to shift the culture and change how we view this topic. So, the topic is about pets, but it's specifically in this video about cats. And the reason why this has to do with gardening is because the whole point of this video is that I am going to make the case for why you really should keep your cats indoors if at all possible. And I'm going to explain why in this video. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of this video, I do want to give you some of my background because I think it's really important that I tell you some of my background so that you know. For one, I am a cat lover, and I am a pet owner, and I have 2 cats, and they are indoor-only cats. And the reason I am making this video is because ever since I started gardening for wildlife, I found out statistics about cats that roam free outside that I cannot unsee. I saw statistics that just were really troubling about the amount of wildlife that free-roaming cats and feral cats destroy and they kill, and I've seen it actually firsthand in my own garden. And so I'm here today to talk about this, and I understand that some of you are going to not like this video, and that is totally okay. We can have a different opinion. I'm here to share the facts that I have learned, and I'm also here to share my story a little bit, maybe not the full story because that would take forever, but I am going to share a little bit about me growing up. I did grow up with cats pretty much my whole life ever since I was really little. And so cats have been one of my best friends, honestly, ever since I was a child. And so this is nothing against cats as, as an animal, as a creature. The things that they do that hurt wildlife is something that they cannot help. This is inherent in how they are. This is part of just how they naturally are. And I guess you could also, maybe if you go way back when they were, I guess, domesticated or whatever, you could maybe say that part of it is because of us, the way that they are. But let's not get into the weeds there. Let's just talk about here and now and the statistics. So before I do that, I am going to talk about my background when it comes to cats. So I grew up with cats in my life pretty early on. I actually don't have a memory before having cats. So they were a pivotal part of my life almost all my life. So I've always loved them. I've always cherished them. And when I was younger, we lived on a farm, and we had cats inside the house and outside the house. We had barn cats. We had free-roaming cats. Now, I do want to preface this to say that some of our cats we adopted, but some of our cats just showed up out of nowhere. Outdoor cats, didn't know where they came from, just showed up, and then we just fed them and took care of them, and they became our pets as well. But they were always outside, those specific cats. And then we would have an indoor cat, and then we would have barn cats, and the barn cats could not get out of the barn. I don't know if they ever accidentally got out, but they were enclosed in the barn. That was their home. So they couldn't get out unless there was some issue with the barn itself, right? Unless something happened and they broke out or something, right? Now, the free-roaming cats, most of those cats showed up out of nowhere. We don't know where they came from, and we just let them hang out at our house and we fed them, right? But this is becoming a much worse problem now. It's always been a problem, but this is becoming even more of a problem now. And when I was younger, we had a neighbor who hated cats, and I didn't understand it. It blew my mind. I love cats. I've always loved cats. And now looking back, I'm kind of wondering if maybe he knew something that I didn't. And it doesn't mean he should hate them, though. I think that that's taking it too far. I think that it is frustrating, though, the problem. And the problem is that cats that are outdoors kill so much wildlife. And I know a lot of people probably don't know that. It's not just, oh, they're keeping a population of rodents under control. That's not all that's going on. There's more to it than that, and there is a huge problem behind it. And I'm going to actually put on the screen right now some statistics about how many songbirds, okay, not even talking about mice, not even talking about chipmunks or whatever, how many songbirds do you guys think cats kill in this country or on this planet? I don't know, but I'm going to put the statistics right here so you can see it. And I just want you to sit with those statistics for a minute and just think about that, okay? Like, I had no idea. When I was younger, I had no clue. I mean, we would have cats that sometimes would bring dead animals onto the porch, and it was disturbing, but we thought, okay, well, that's just one or two of those, and it's not a big deal. But when you add all of them together, it adds up to a lot of wildlife being killed by these animals. And so it is a disturbing topic. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. This is a disturbing topic that a lot of people don't want to hear about, and I totally understand it. If you're eating right now, you should probably just pause the video, finish eating, and then come back, because it's gruesome. It's a gruesome topic, but I think it's important to know, because I wish I would have known sooner. It's super important, right? But it's not just the songbirds that they kill, but it's also the fact that a cat that lives outside has a much shorter lifespan. A cat that lives outside is much more susceptible to diseases and illnesses, and just things can get passed to them from other community cats, neighborhood cats, street cats, whatever you want to call them. And so it's really important that we think about that, and also think about if you have a cat that you let come in and out, in and out, in and out. A lot of people do that, and I know some of you probably do. And again, this is not to shame you, this is not to upset you, and I don't want to upset you, I just want you to be informed. Think about all of the things that cat could be bringing to your home. You don't know where that cat has been necessarily. I mean, some people maybe have a camera on their cat, but I think that's pretty uncommon. And so you don't necessarily know where this cat has gone and where it's been and what it's been up to and what it's touched, what it's gotten into. And then you're just letting that cat right back into your house and going in and out, back and forth. And cats can get so many illnesses and things from being around other cats that they're not familiar with, or other cats are not a part of their household. And so it's just really important to keep that in mind. And also, let's talk about vaccines. Let's talk about, getting their rabies shots. They all need to be fully updated on their rabies shots, especially if they're outdoor cats. And they need to be, and even indoor cats do too, by the way. That's really important too. Everybody needs to be updated on the rabies shot and whatever other shots that they need specifically. And, you never know when your cat could get into a fight with another cat outside. You don't know if that other cat has rabies. You don't know if your cat could get into a fight with a raccoon. You really don't know what could happen if you let your cat come in and out or be outside all the time. It's just not safe. It's not safe for you. It's not safe for your pet. And it's definitely not safe for the wildlife. And so, what can we do to keep our cats indoors? Well, if you have been letting your cat go in and out and use the bathroom outside, first of all, I'm upset with you for that. Okay? I have found cat poo in my garden before, okay? From some cat that was roaming the neighborhood, came into my garden, pooped in my garden bed. I had just started a new garden bed for flowers, and I was digging a hole, and in the soil there was poop, and that's how I knew it was a cat, because I had been seeing a cat roaming around, and to top it off, it was buried in the ground, and typically cats will bury their poo. So if you dig in your garden and you find poo buried in there, it could be a cat. And that was very frustrating because it was not pleasant. It was not easy to dispose of. We're not going to go into detail, but it was pretty gross. And that is just not something I want to encounter when I am working on my garden. You know, like, I don't know how to explain to you the problem that has come from these cats in my local area. So when we first moved here, we didn't really see any cats. And then a few years later, I started to see cats coming around. And at the time, I was kind of excited because I didn't know about the wildlife issue. I was just like, oh, because I'm a cat lover, right? So I was like, oh, there's some cute cats outside, maybe I should feed them and maybe I should try to catch them. I've tried to catch cats before in the past, all this stuff. And it didn't really work out. They would get away and go off who knows where, right? But there was just a couple, right? It was just like one or two cats. It didn't really seem that big of a deal. In fact, we had this one cat one time that was in the neighborhood that was seemingly deaf. You could sneak up on him and he could not hear you. He would get startled because of that too, because he would be just chilling somewhere and then all of a sudden he would see somebody and, they were really close by, and because he was startled because he couldn't hear them coming. And so this cat, he probably couldn't really do as much damage, but then you just add in all the cats since then. All the cats since him have just exploded. And we're to the point now where every once in a while we see like 3 or 4 cats all in a group in our driveway, just showing up at night in the middle of in the middle of the night. And like we pull up our driveway, we'll see like 4 cats, and then they scatter because we're coming, right? It's gotten pretty ridiculous. My neighbor said he saw like 12 cats the other day, and they were all in a big group, and they were fighting and trying to kill each other, basically. And it was just not good. It's just not good. And you may be asking yourselves, why don't you call animal control? Well, unfortunately, where I live, I have called animal control. And they're super nice people, by the way. They are super kind. They try their best to help. But the problem is there's currently I think there's just so many cats that they're overloaded. So they currently will not pick up any cats that are healthy. Adult cats that are healthy, they will not pick them up. They just won't. I've called the shelters, and, you'll end up on a machine and you won't get a response, and you leave voicemails and you keep leaving voicemails and they don't get back to you, and then maybe you've already figured out what to do in the situation and you've gone a different direction, and then they call you back like days later and you no longer need their services. So these issues are just really frustrating, and I don't think hardly anybody knows about it. I don't think hardly anyone knows. I think a niche amount of people know. A lot of you probably already know because you're already into wildlife gardening, and I think that's usually how people find out, is they get into birding, or they get into pollinator gardening, or they get into some other kind of wildlife gardening, and they find that, oh my gosh, these cats, they are posing a risk to the wildlife that I am enjoying. I think that's usually how people find out. Unfortunately, there's just not a PSA out there that's very loud. And I guess this is just my small way to try to put it out there, that they're causing a lot of issues, and it shouldn't just be ignored. We should all do our best effort to keep our cats inside. I'm really lucky. My cats are not super big door dashers. Like, they don't like dash to the door. They don't like run out. But they do try to stick their head out really slowly, and they really try to kind of get there at the door. So this is not me shaming people who their cats accidentally get out and they don't want their cat to get out, right? I actually don't want to shame anybody. Again, I just don't want to shame anybody. I just want everybody to know what's going on, because I don't think a lot of people do. And so anyway, so I've been trying to think of other things people can do, and I think if you can train your cat to not run out the door, that's going to be the most important thing you can do, because it can be frustrating if you have a cat that just dashes for the door. So if there's any way for you to train your cat away from running out the door, and I don't really have great advice for that right now. My cats love treats, so treats are a great way for me to train my cats on things. I have done that with trimming their claws. I trim their claws pretty often because, otherwise we'll get scratched just inadvertently. But I use treats to get them used to the clippers, and it works great. They are pretty much used to them now, and it's awesome. It's so easy for me to clip their claws. It's not hard at all. By the way, declawing is bad, and I am going to shame people for declawing. Do not declaw your cat. It's actually really, really terrible for your cat. Google it. But trimming their claws, totally different. You can just trim the little tiny claw tip, okay? Just the tip of the claw. You just trim that off. Super easy if your cat will behave. But again, you can train them with treats. They love treats. They're obsessed, or at least my cats are. So maybe you can think of some way to do that with the door dashing problem. Maybe instead of being interested in dashing for the door, you can get them interested in treats in some way. I don't know. But there should be ways to train your cats in that regard. And cats are trainable. I don't care what people say and try to say dogs are trainable and cats aren't. Cats are trainable too. We just don't try enough. You just gotta keep trying. It is harder, but we just gotta keep going. And another thing I've been doing is I've been training my cats with their collars. My cats have collars, but they don't usually, I don't usually make them wear them. But I have changed that because I'm like, okay, if my cat gets out somehow, I want them to have a collar because I want people to know that this cat belongs to somebody. And we also have a microchip in one of our cats. We need to get a microchip in the other cat. That's on us. But we have a microchip in one of our cats, and we need to get one in the other one. And that's something you can do too, if you have the ability to do so. Because if your cat does get out and it does get lost, this is one of the first things people will check if they're professionals. If they are animal control or a shelter, typically the first thing they check once they get the cat to a safe place is they will check the chip. So keep that in mind to keep your cat safe, and if it gets lost, it can get back to you, hopefully, more easily that way. And another thing you can do, if your cat just loves the outdoors, there are a couple things you can do. One of them is you can open your windows, but keep your screen closed. Now, this is really only practical in like the autumn and the spring when the weather is decent and kind of neutral weather, but it's a game changer, you guys. It is a game changer. Now, some cats will fiddle with the screen, and if you have a cat like that, you just keep your window only cracked open like this much. If you have a cat that messes with the screen and you're afraid that they're going to pop the screen off, just keep your window just open that much so they can't really get out. That way they can't actually push the screen and then get out of your window or anything. So just think about safety precautions there. And if you have a big budget, this would be my dream, it would be to have a big budget to create a catio. And I'm going to put some images on the screen right now so you can see what a catio is, because, oh my gosh, it is the dream for, I'm sure, a ton of cats. Catios are wonderful little enclosures. They're basically like a screened-in porch kind of situation, but less expensive than a screened-in porch, I would say, because they're less structural and more just kind of enclosing, so the cat can't get anywhere, can't get out, but it can still hear the outside sounds, feel the wind, all of that great stuff, and have a blast. And there's different levels of catios. I mean, there's some catios that are like cheaper and easier to create, that just kind of extend your window a little bit, something for your cat to just go out the window and then go into this small little opening that has a screen. And then there's some catios that like you could actually go with your cat on this patio and have like this whole screened in area, and it's just beautiful. Some people even put pet safe plants in there, like house plants in there. It's wonderful. I'm sure my cats would have a ball if they had something like that, and that's the dream. One day maybe we'll have that. But anyway, I think that the neighborhood cat issue is just out of control. And it would be one thing if you could scare away these cats from your property so that they can't attack your wildlife, but not everybody works from home like I do. I mean, I have chased away a lot of different cats from my property to keep them from killing my chipmunks and my birds. It's actually ridiculous, but I work from home, so I have the ability to do so for the most part. But the problem is like most people don't work from home. Most people are gone all day, and then they get home and who knows what's happened. And so I really wish people that had cats, that actually owned cats, would keep them inside. Just keep your cats inside as much as possible. If they accidentally get out, I get it. It can happen. But just try to train them to stay inside. Try to create barriers so that they can't just easily jump out the door. Maybe create a little pet gate situation. You have to have a really tall pet gate for a cat, because cats can jump over pretty much anything, but ask me how I know. But maybe you can create some kind of double door system in your house. I don't know, just try to think of ways to keep them from getting out of your door, and try to keep them inside as much as possible. And if you already have a cat that comes in and out, that's going to be hard, and I get it. I get that that's going to be tough. And if you have the money to do so, maybe you can hire somebody to train your cat and figure out that, because that can be a tough pill to swallow for the cat that's used to being spoiled and being able to go in and out whenever they want, right? So I totally get it. It is a frustrating problem. And so the two types of animals that have been killed on my property by cats roaming the neighborhood are a baby bunny. A baby bunny about this small was killed once by a cat, and it left it on my main garden path, my concrete garden path. It didn't eat it, it just left it. It looked almost pristine other than where the cat had smacked it. So it didn't even try to eat it, it just killed it and left. And that was heartbreaking. I had to bury it in my backyard because I didn't know what else to do with it. And a different cat a few years later killed 2 shrews in my garden. There were 2 or 3 shrews that were hanging out in my prairie area of my garden, and I was so excited because I had never seen shrews before in my entire life. I'm actually getting emotional just thinking about it. I had never seen shrews before in my entire life, and for a while I was like, oh, are these little mice? What are they? And they were super shy, and I never could see their face, and they would just be gone. They were so scared of me. They were so shy. And one day I just found them dead, just on my patio, just dead, not eaten, just killed, just brutalized by a cat. And I know this because I looked at my security footage, and sure enough, a cat was right there. So yeah, and they don't eat. So a lot of times they don't eat the things that they're killing. So you could at least, if they would at least eat them, you could at least say, okay, their bodies are being nourished by killing these creatures. I don't like it, but at least they're getting fed. But they're not. They're not eating them because they're probably being fed by somebody. They probably belong to somebody. And that somebody is letting them out. And then they are killing the wildlife. And unfortunately, it's really hard to keep a cat out of your garden with a fence. I'm actually working on it right now. I am trying to fence in the rest of my yard and see if it's going to dampen the cat population coming around my garden. I'm going to try and see if it works. But see, cats can climb fences. So it's really hard to create a fence, and it can be really expensive to create the right fence that will keep cats out. It's actually really hard. And if you keep cats out, you're probably keeping out some of the wildlife, which is really frustrating. You know, I sometimes get possums, raccoons, and skunks. And I really want to get possums, raccoons, and skunks because they are part of the ecosystem here where I live. I live in East Tennessee. I live in the Ridge and Valley ecoregion. And we sometimes get to see these beautiful creatures. But think about it. If a cat can't get into a fence, maybe the raccoon can't get in. Maybe the possum can't get in. And that's really frustrating. So me trying to keep out the cats is probably going to be me also keeping out some of the bigger wildlife creatures. So I'm trying it, but unfortunately that's a downside. That's a huge downside. And if you guys have any tips, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. But in the meantime, I am just trying to create a small wildlife oasis, I guess. I mean, I guess if we're walling it off a little bit, then not everybody can partake, and that's sad. But maybe I can protect the birds, the chipmunks, some of the insects, some of the smaller things that can still get in. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a really depressing one. I know this was a really sad one. But I just really want people to understand the gravity of what's going on. And I still want to thank you if you have cats and you adopted your cats and you're trying your best to take care of your cats. I want to thank you for that because that's a huge deal. That's really important. It is a beautiful thing to adopt a pet and to take care of it and to take it into your home and to do your best to try to take care of your cat. And a lot of people just don't know that it's actually bad for their cat to let them outside. It's not just bad for the wildlife, it's also bad for your pet. Even though your pet loves going outside, they don't know that it shortens their lifespan, that it causes them illnesses, that it can kill them. They can get hit by a car. There are so many reasons. And so, yeah. Just think about it. Just think about it. And let me know what you guys think down below, good, bad, or otherwise. You can rip me apart in the comments. I totally get it. It took me years of seeing the stats and seeing firsthand the kills in my own garden from these cats to finally recognize how important it is to talk about this. So, yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. And hopefully the next video will be more positive and happy and upbeat. Okay, bye guys. Do you need a short, quick guide to get started in wildlife gardening? Well, turns out I've got just the thing. I just came out with a new free ebook just for you, and it's called A Wild Approach to Gardening 101. And it's available on my website today at macylou.com/shop. It's free, so go check it out. What do you have to lose? Brand new items are now available in the shop. Thanks so much to viewers like you for supporting the channel. To support the channel, like the video, comment, and subscribe. You can also support my work by buying art from me at macylou.com. Thanks for watching!